The wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
Well, welcome back. It is the first weekend in September, and it is time to start another fun holiday weekend of work here at Aztec Dummy. The 3-day weekend, since it is the Labor Day weekend. I always get those two confused. It is the Labor Day weekend, and I will be laboring. So I am working mostly on the 2001 pod. I'm kind of backburnering the Interstellar Ranger. I may pull it out while I'm working on something else, but really my attention and my brain box, as small as it is working on the Discovery pod. So that's where the majority of my efforts this weekend are going to be. Let's see where we are right now. It's not very pretty, but I'll show you. Okay, most of my efforts this week have been cleaning up parts, and in those parts I'm including these. These are the manipulator arms. Now, I bought this kit so long ago that these are white metal. I don't know. I'm pretty sure now that Scott is making them out of resin like the rest of the kit. These are the old metal ones. So I've been taking a Dremel to them and some files and knocking down the mold seams and things like that. And you can see the nice shiny bits that aren't going to get painted. But I also replaced. There was a very thin piece of white metal there that I've knocked off of both those and replaced with a little bit of brass rod. And the kits or the manipulator arms are not meant to be posable. Now you can build them and put them in any pose you want, and then freeze that with using the CA to build them in that configuration, but you're not going to be able to pose them and work the joints and all that kind of stuff. It's not an action figure, it's a model. So the question is figuring out what pose you want it to be in. Do you want them to be stored? Do you want them to be reaching? Do you want them to be try to carry the Deadpool character? So you got to kind of do that math in your head and figure out how you want them to be displayed before you go too far down the road as to how you want them built. Okay, looking at the instructions for this wee beastie, there are parts that are not included in the kit that we are, as modelers and scratch builders and stalwart folks, expected to build for ourselves. And those are most notably these pieces here, which are the basis for the pedestal of the instrument panel. They are simple flat stock that needs to be cut to those shapes. So what I did is I took this page, I scanned it, I drew over top of it and sent this to my trusty vinyl cutting software, and I cut out some of these vinyl shapes. And I'm basically sticking them down to thicknesses of sheet styrene. And I am going to, now that I've got them stuck down, I'm going to cut them out and sand them to fit and all of that. But now I've got accurate pieces and in the correct number. So let's go get these guys cut out. I think I've come up with a solution that I like for the biggest problem with this kit. And the biggest problem with this kit is once you get everything inside of it like that, and these are only taped and held and stuck on there with unicorn wishes. Once you get everything in, you do not get to see all of the fine work that you've done because everything is covered up by the figure. You get a nice view inside the front window of Dave at his controls, and you can look down and see some lit controls. But if you open the back door, you do not get to see a clean view of the dashboard, as it were. You see the back of Dave. That's not going to cut it for me. I want to see all of it. So what I'm going to do, I think this will work, is I'm going to build everything as best I can and even be able to light it, but I am going to attach this panel, this earmuff, only with magnets. no glue, just magnets, which should allow me to remove that for viewing. Now this is still going to allow me to put the nice arms on, and the arms will move in and out, but they will not be posable because they're not meant to. They're not built to do that. Once I get the legs built for this console and get it in more central or a more stable location, I think it'll become clearer. But it's true that once you do this and once you paint Dave and put him in place, you kind of have to close the shell up around it. You can't build it in a... it's like building a ship in a bottle. You have to build the inside and then close the two halves up last, which is kind of a bummer because this is a really picky joint that really needs to have a lot of massaging done to it. And I feel once everything is in and all the wiring is in and the figure is in, you really don't want to be jostling that too much. So this is another one of those kits that kind of has to be built from the inside out. Okay, after a frustrating amount of pussyfooting around and cleaning up parts, I felt the need to put some parts together. And it may not be germane, or it may not be the rules according to Scott. It may not be advised in the instructions, but I needed to start putting some pieces together. So I went ahead and joined these two, forever and ever. Let no man pull them asunder. And I put a little bit of putty in there. Because what I'm going to do is build everything into the front. I'm going to build the... put that panel back here. I'm going to build the console into the front to the point where I can put the floor down and get Dave in position, get the lights in the front, get the arms on. Actually, I'll probably put the arms on last. Get all of that kind of built into the front and then slide the back on later. I'm going to have to notch these so that it's more, get rid of this keystone shape, and so that it will slide straight into the back, and then I can kind of fill that in from the top side. But what I want to do is get everything ready so that I can simply do this and then it'll all be done. So I just packed that inside joint with some epoxy putty after I joined the outside, and I've got some Bondo on that seam. But finally I feel like I'm building something instead of just cleaning parts and cleaning parts. These will go in and out. I'm going to put a little stop on the back of those so that they don't pull the whole way out. Just a little plate on the back of that to keep them from going all the way out. And then I'll drill the holes for the LEDs. Yay, I'm lighting something. I haven't done that in quite a while. Okay, I'm back. I have taken a nice order box to the post office to get it winging its way to South Florida, and stopped off for lunch, which is today Bojangles. I don't mean to turn this into a commercial, but I've been to North Carolina. I've been in here, down in the South, 35 years probably, something like that, and never had Bojangles chicken before I came down south. Everything up north was Kentucky Fried. And I have to tell you, ever since I tasted my first Bojangles chicken, I have never been back to the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, not a paid commercial, but if anybody out there from the fine Bojangles people wants to contact me, I will be happy to make Bojangles the official fast food chicken of the Aztec Dummy. Back to work. We are putting the console together, and this is scratch building at its most primal. It is cutting out pieces of sheet styrene and gluing them together in such a way that you get something pretty out of it. I think I've already covered how the pieces were made. Traced off pieces, cut them out of vinyl, stuck the vinyl down onto the plastic in order to cut them out, and now I am piecing them together following these less than obvious instructions. I'm going to have to try to match things up against the pictures to see how they look. But that's what we're going to do now. Okay, I got a little bit of box building done. This is the light well that's supposed to go up underneath this, and this is the the risers that will allow this to sit right about there. Actually sits on the floor, and I think I'm going to go ahead and glue that to the floor, and that way I can piece the whole thing in together. Something like that, with that on top of it. Starting to look like something now. And that goes on top of that like there. So it's starting to get there. Okay, I'm kind of getting frustrated with the console for fitting in the front. It seems to be working okay, but it wants to shoot over at a weird angle, so we're going to leave that alone for a while, and we're going to start the other frustrating thing, which is getting this back door in and getting the two back walls in. I am going to just start gluing because I'm getting frustrated, like I said, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece off of the floor so that I don't have to worry about trying to slide. I can slide these two pieces under the walls. I'm going to attach these two walls to the back, and I can slide the floor underneath that, but this keystone shape I'm going to have to trim off. So I'm going to put this wall in first, and that will give me a basis for putting this other wall in, and try to slide the door behind it. Okay, it's not pretty, but it's in. Now what I'm going to do is that I've got everything kind of tacked in with the CA is kind of backfill the areas that I can with epoxy to strengthen everything. The door works. I can slide it in. Yeah, I can slide it in. And it does go behind the wall like it should. That's probably the area that it looks the best in, because if you open it the whole way you see a heck of a gap, and if you close it the whole way you see a heck of a gap. But if it's half open, that actually looks pretty good. So I think this is ready to solidify and then start painting. Okay, as part of the whole working from the inside out business, I need to put the window in, really, before I do anything else, because I have to start working from the front back. And that means I got to put a clear window in there and mask it off to keep it clean so that it will forever and ever stay clean. And then this is, I got to put the clear piece in, and then this piece over it, which is the dressing up of the front wall. So what that means is I've got to paint this area black while I've got nothing in it right now, and then I can mask it off and paint the white around it later. But I need to paint that black, and I need to paint the inside edge of that black and a little bit of this, because there is a slight black frame around the inside. So it looks like I'm getting out the airbrush and some black paint. Okay, black paint abounds. I've got the iconic, symbolic, probably most distinct feature. I've got that the inside of the windowsill, for lack of a better term. Got that painted black. While I had the black out, I painted the back walls. I got a first coat of them black. I've got the black on the trim on the inside of the front wall. I've got the black on the console. Again, a first coat. I'm going to put new facings on all of those panels that I'll just have to glue down on top of that. But put some black on there. Yes, I end the day with a good amount of paint on things. I always like ending the day with paint on things, because then I can be drying and sealing and curing overnight. So that's where we're probably going to leave this. It's still early evening on Saturday, and I haven't well, you know, I haven't done anything on the Ranger, and I don't think I'm going to this weekend. I think I'm going to concentrate on the pod, because it seems to be going along well. And I think now would be a good time to start pulling out the LEDs and the wiring and start worrying about trying to fix some of that up. You know, the more I work on this door and the more that I work on this pod, the more I am, I hate to say, rethinking whether or not I want to make the door operable at all. And the reason isn't because of what you might think it is. The reason is I kind of jammed everything together, and I taped it up, and the door does open and it does close. And it's not a question of this clearance, because that clearance works. What I'm more concerned about is taking the paint and, more importantly, the decals off of this door. This is where all those explosive bolt decals go. And I'm afraid that what's going to happen is when I try to open it, it's that clearance right there. The door does not, I mean, there it looks nice, but when you jam the whole ball together and you tape everything down, it kind of forces it too tightly against that seam, and I'm afraid it's going to scrape the paint and the decals off. What I may do is either put the door in the semi-open position and leave it that way, or close it completely. Now, I am still planning on putting this earmuff on with magnets, which will allow me to look in there, because once this is all put together, I'm trying to do this with one hand and use the camera, so forgive me on that. But once that's all put together, that's the view that I will have if I leave that earmuff off. And I can even do some dressing up back behind here with something. But I'll be able to see all of the panels. Of course, they'll be lit up. And then you'll have the view in through the window. Now, you're not going to have this side here is going to be closed over, because I'm going to glue the other earmuff on there. But I'm thinking that for display purposes alone, that this will do. This will do, Pig. This will do 90% of what I want it to do. And I could probably even hide battery and switches inside here so that I can make it self-contained. I've decided that if I like this well enough, I talked to Steve Iverson at Cult TV Man last night, and he says he's got some of these in stock. So what I might do is make this one the Dave version, for lack of a better term, and get out my mistakes and trial balloons on this one, but then maybe buy another kit and do that one strictly as closed door, but with a fuller interior that, you know, includes some of the panels that aren't included in this kit, using the workers or the builders group plans that Paul from Paragraphics has come up with, that includes more of the panels and more, even the ceiling panels that should be there. And by making that door not operable at all, I'll just cut off the top there and just glue that into its place. Then I can even make the ceiling consoles that are supposed to be there, and the front, the other front round displays, control panel displays that are supposed to be in there. So this one is going to be the like I said, the Dave version. And I was watching the movie, had it on in the background this afternoon while I was building for inspiration, and I noticed a few things. The scene that I want to use is Dave without helmet going after Frank in the pod, but unfortunately it's not going to be completely accurate, because not only did Dave not have his helmet on in those scenes, but he also didn't have his gloves on in those scenes. And the Dave figure here has its gloves on. I can take the helmet on or off, but I can't make hands, so it's not going to be 100%. It's going to be Dave with no helmet but with gloves. So yeah, work with what you got, folks, and that's what you do. Okay, it is going on mostly late Saturday night, and I have been fiddling with this door all night, and I've been pondering and pondering, And my question is, do I think I am smarter or have thought of something that Scott has not already thought of and dismissed as a bad idea? What I'm trying to do is avoid this rubbing, the rubbing back there, and I think if I pull the whole door in, then I can get away from that. My question is how to do that, and I'm thinking that what I need to get rid of is this mechanism. Now the question I have is, has Scott already thought of all of this, and having thought of it, this is the best idea, and what I'm going to do is a bad idea? Well, I won't know until I try, but what I'm thinking I want to do is cut this off, something like that, and then create a single track on a curved track on the ceiling for it to ride in like a pocket door, rather than using this top as a pivot point. Because when I cram the whole ball together and make these sides all join up, it puts a lot of pressure on this, and that's what's causing the door to rub along the outside. So if this doesn't work, I glue the door shut and I use the side entrance as the only way to look in or out. So knowing that that's what's at stake, I think I'm going to go ahead. Wish me luck. Okay, surprisingly, so far so good. What this is a length of styrene tube that is acting as the top stop on the door, which allows me for this to touch that all the way around. And what I'm going to do now is put a overhang lip on it to kind of capture the top of that door. And then I'll see if I need anything on the bottom. I am willing to mark this down as a complete success. It's got this weird little runner going up the top here, which if you look at the side view of it, it's actually a bar at the top and then an overlap, which goes down over the tab on the top of the door. Now it looks a bit funky now, but when it's painted black like the rest of the roof, I think it's going to do a pretty good disappearing act. And it's a lot less intrusive than the huge tab at the top that moved with everything. Now, when I say it's a success, it's got one qualification, is that it does not want to open squarely. I mean, you have to play with it with your hand to get it to open squarely. It wants to wobble a bit, but hey, it's not like it's on a motor or anything, and it does not rub against the back there nearly as bad. And I think I'm going to be able to not only put paint on it, but the decals as well, without worrying about them getting scratched off. And I can go in here and pull it back shut. Like I said, I'm trying to do this with one hand, sorry. It wants to go a little bit crooked, but it's certainly easy enough to straighten out. I think it's a success. And it's just sitting. I mean, look how easily this opens up now. It's just sitting in a track like a pocket door would. And lovely. So now that I've spent way too long on that tonight, I can retire to my little bed and know that I have knocked that problem out. Well, good morning. It's Sunday, and boy, is it a rough morning for me. I spent way too long last night. I was up to the wee hours working on this, because once I got into the groove of figuring out how it was going to go, I wanted to see it through. So what I ended up doing is putting in this track, and then I put a little piece of trim to kind of neaten up the edge. And what I'm doing this morning is just putting some Bondo in there along the ragged edge where I built up with a couple different pieces of stock. And now I'm just putting some Bondo over there to clean that edge up. And once it's painted, I think it's going to disappear. But the door is in. It is functioning. It is not rubbing on the back wall nearly as bad. I don't have any fears now of the decal or the paint because it's a lot cleaner than it was. And of course, trying to do this with one hand is embarrassing me in front of my public, and I can't have it. It works, trust me, it works. It's just not working with one hand. So now I can start putting in some more paint. These black walls, I'm just kind of painting them to see what's going to show and what's not. I'm really, I'm not digging these the backlit films for this, and only because they look like crap when they're turned off. I mean, yes, here's the light with it on, and everything looks good and hunky and dory, but when they're off, they look like blah milk. This is what you're going to see from the outside, and unless I'm doing something completely wrong, this is the view when the model lights are turned off. And there's no way to stick them down as far as I know. I don't think that if you put any glue on this, it's going to be healthy for it. So how are you supposed to stick it down to the flat surface that it's going on? I don't have much experience with backlit films, so that's why I'm coming up with these problems. I would much rather put them on this way so that you could see the brighter colors, but then all the text is reversed. So there you go. I got those, and then the same problem with the consoles on the front. So I guess we're going to cut this out so that I can backlight it with this panel, because if I just stick this milky decal on there, it's not gonna work. So I got to build a light box for that, which I've got plenty of room for. I'm not really worried about that. But the consoles are going to be a task, and then we're going to start putting some. The other thing I want to do this afternoon that'll be nice and showy is I want to go ahead and build these and glue them and maybe get some primer paint on them. And get some red on Dave. Well, good afternoon. It's Sunday, and since there is no work tomorrow, I can actually get more work done today because I don't have to worry about finishing up on time to get this edited and uploaded or ready to upload tomorrow, since it won't be uploading till Tuesday. So now we're going to switch gears and do some fun stuff, do some lighting. Most notably, the 4 spotlights that go on the front of this beastie, and the howl light, the eyeball here, because we're going to start working backwards. We are going to wire up these things so that I can put the window and the faceplate on, so that I can install the consoles and get those wired and lit up, and then just start working backwards as it goes. So first things first, we need to wire up. I've already drilled the holes through for the 3mm cool lights. They're going to go in here. I thought of using 5 mils, but that's going to be just, I think, a bit too bright. Don't really need that big of a bulb. So 3 mils will go in there, and I'm going to wire them up and then jam them in those holes, and then probably backfill them with some epoxy to keep them in the right orientation. So let's go have some fun. Okay, you've seen this a million times, but I never get over the thrill of actually wiring a light and having it work. These are the 3 LEDs, and wired them up a little bit. All right, where is it? There you go. Wired it up, a little bit of shrink wrap. Look at this. I'm no longer working like a savage having to hold wires to a battery. Thank you, Rob. Anyway, do this 3 more times and then I can start installing them. Okay, here you can see all the wiring is in for the 4 spots. I'm going to put a touch of epoxy down in there to seal those wires to keep them in there. But now we're doing Attack of the Googly Eyes. Googly Eyes are the unsung hero of the modeling world, in my opinion, because, and here are said googly eyes. They are exactly what you think they are. They're googly eyes. You can get a whole bag of them for like, $2 or $3 at Walmart. Googly eyes are wonderful for many things. They give you nice little domes. that you cover over with, you spray over them, and all of a sudden you got instant domes. They're excellent for lens covers, for headlights, for the Chariot, the Boston Space Chariot. Googly lights, googly eyes go wonderful for that. Now there is a googly eye here that I have stuck in from the back for the Howl camera, and this is what the googly eye looks like from the front. It's tough to see, but it's a perfect lens. And it's just the right size. Now it's got a bit of dust in there. I'll have to clean that out. I was going to use googly eyes for the front of those spotlights. There is a size of googly eye. I know I keep saying that, but I love saying googly eye. There is a size of googly eye that fits this perfectly. But having reviewed the film again yesterday, having it on in the background, and here is the appropriate size of googly eye. The lenses over there are flat. They're more like flat spotlights than they are raised headlights. So what I'm going to do is cut circles out of clear styrene. Actually, I'm going to cut circles in vinyl, stick them down on the clear styrene, trim them out, and then put them down over top of that so that they're flat. There's this nice little ledge in there for the flat styrene to sit. Styrene that's not included in the kit. It's just, which I think is kind of a shame. It would have been really beautiful to have had that provided. But I'm going to paint the inside of these chrome silver, and then put in the clear styrene with canopy glue, and then the vinyl mask I'm going to leave on the glass, and that's actually going to act as the paint mask until I'm ready to take those off. So that's after I seal them in, that'll be the next step. Oh, let there be light. I love saying that. This is just to show the spots all lit up. Make sure I didn't screw up anything, and they're still working. And that's all running off a 9-volt battery. I'm going to neaten up this wiring. It doesn't need to be quite that sticky outy. I'm going to probably take it all down to one common set of wires. But let's put the clear epoxy in first, and this is the red light for Hal. Okay, what I've done in here while I'm in the neighborhood is to screw in these little blocks, stop blocks, and what they'll do is keep the arms from going out, but only so far. Let me zoom back out. When the arm is fully extended, these will stop them from coming out too far. Then I shove them back in there, but I don't have to worry about pulling them too far out from the front. Yay! And what I've done down there at the bottom is to attach a backwards googly eye concave, so that this little handhold on the front, you can't see it because it's clear right now, but what happens is that I don't want light to leak out through there, and so I'm going to cover the back of that with some silver foil tape to block the light, but I wanted to have some sort of concave shape behind that, so it looks like a handhold. Shoot, now the reason I've been jumping around on a bunch of things is I want to get to a stage where I can use 1-minute epoxy on a bunch of different things, and because 1-minute epoxy is so touchy, it only has that 1-minute work time. I want to be able to squirt it, dab it in a bunch of different places all at the same time and get it out and get it used just the one time. So that's the only real reason. It's minimizing the amount of time that I've got. I don't want to have to mix up a tiny batch for this and another tiny batch for that and another tiny batch for that, when I can mix up one batch and kind of smear it all over. That's the only reason. Okay, we're starting to pick up speed now. Things are happening. I've got the front wall in, or the window wall in, and glued down, and this is yellow masking material that's covering a bit of the black that I've sprayed, so that when I spray this front wall, or the inside of this front wall red, I will be left with a black outline around the window. I'm going to put some epoxy sculpt in this area to kind of smooth it out so that it is more of a smooth insides. You do see that from the back, and I do want to have that area kind of refined a bit. Now what you're seeing from this side is the back of that mask, but there's the clear styrene in place. Now I'm going to cover the front of this window with another piece of vinyl just to protect it from getting scratched while I'm working on it. And then I'm ready to start the 1 minute epoxying that I need to do. It's picking up speed now. Okay, I just did battle with my old nemesis, chrome silver enamel paint, painting in the inside of these spotlights so that I can cover them up. But I'm going to let them dry completely overnight and come back to it tomorrow on Labor Day and continue the labors on it. Things look good. Let me see if I can turn on one of these spotlights. Look at that. It is alive. So letting that dry, and then I'll cover it over tomorrow. But now I think I'm going to work on the arms, something completely different. And now for something completely different, the larch. I'm going to put these together, get a little bit of the epoxy out, and do some glue. And I think I'm going to use the two-part epoxy and set those in the joints and get them all nice and posed. As we draw close on Sunday, day 2 of the 3-day Labor Day build, it's important to take stock of where we are. I have used the epoxy sculpt to kind of smooth out the interior there and sculpt myself a new one. I sanded down a big ridge that was there and kind of am rounding things off. It was very rough inside there, and I am smoothing it off to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I have knocked a hole in that wall to put a light box behind it. The door is functioning. Yay, everybody's happy with that. The lights are in at the front and have been painted, and they will be drying overnight. The arms are in. The manipulator claws are under construction. I made little tiny pistons to go there on the fronts of the single claws, and I made 2 of them that were open and 2 of them that were closed just to break it up a little bit. Well, good morning and howdy do. It is Monday. It is fabulous Labor Day, and I am enjoying a day off from work. So what am I going to do? I'm going to labor on a model. It's a labor of love. Yes, working on neatening up things today. I'm cleaning, trying to clean the desk off, but I've got things put together, and now I'm trying to make them look a little more cosmetic. And what I've done on this back hinge, well, the runner for the door, and also the blend between these 2 parts, I'm just putting some epoxy sculpt in there and kind of troweling it in and letting it act as a bandage, and cleaning, joining some of these more organic angles to each other, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to let that dry. The chrome silver paint from yesterday has dried in, so I am ready to cover over those holes, or the openings for the lights now. I have gone in on the front of this, or on the back of the front, and it kind of blended in this panel, this flat panel that I've put in, kind of blended it into the top of the ceiling of the dome, and I got rid of a couple outdents, I guess, protrusions there, and there was a big piece here that was instrumental in the door hinge, which I don't need anymore. So I was just in the way, and it was going to be clunking up against the head. So I think what I might do is put a strip of red LED strip lighting in there, because I need some way to light this up red in here. But I want to see first what it looks like once the console's in and Dave's in, to see. I want to put red lighting in there, but I don't want it to be obvious, or the source of it to be obvious. So that's what's going to happen there. I might even try to indicate there's two little round instrument consoles or instrument readouts right about there and there. I might maybe print something out and stick it there as opposed to trying to light anything. And the other thing I needed to do was to block up the hole. I don't need that hinge hole anymore, so putting some clay in there and letting it harden, then I'll sand it down. Better than Bondo for me. The epoxy sculpt seems to work better than Bondo because I know it takes longer. It takes a whole day to dry as opposed to like 20 minutes for Bondo or half an hour for Bondo. But I never can seem to mix Bondo to the right consistency. It always goes off way before I am ready to use it, and it smells to high heaven. So epoxy sculpt smells like hot buttered popcorn. So I use that instead. But I filled in some around here, and I can take a sanding block and sand some of that stuff down. Now this is still that the mask over the protected window. And I've taken the arms out, which is another reason why I put the little screw block on the back of them so that I could take them out to work on them. And now that I'm going to sit these aside to gestate and ruminate and marinate, I can build these arms and get those glued up. And they have dried or cured since overnight. I have got the little pistons that I had to put in ready. So what I'm going to do is build those in the position that I was ultimately going to want them in. One arm put together, so I can now do things single-handedly. Well, double-handedly, since there's still two hands on one arm. But it's a one-armed bandit at this point. That metal, I mean, it's nice because if it's a slightest bit off, you can kind of tweak it and bend it around where you probably couldn't if it were a resin. But it's heavy. I can see why Scott switched over to resin, because those hands, those grippers, I don't know whether they might droop or not over given the time. And I chose not to do them in the fully retracted position. If I ever do another one that is empty, that I can concentrate on the consoles and stuff, then I'll put those arms in the retracted position. But this one I wanted to be kind of going out after Frank pose, and of course they extend. That's not magic, that's me pushing from behind. But it's not important to me that both of the arms exactly match. I think if they're in the retracted position, yes, they should match. But close enough is close enough for me on this, because if Dave is at the controls and he's, you know, he's not a machine himself, he is going to have one slightly differently posed than the other. So that's my logic, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to try to use this one as a guide, but not make the other one match it exactly. Okay, both of the arms are in now, or in place, and it's really making it front heavy. That just shows you how much that metal is actually pulling everything down, and the arms aren't even extended. If I extend the arms, it's way front heavy. So that's something that's I'm going to take these arms back out while I do some more work, so that I can paint them by themselves. Plus, they don't get damaged while I'm doing everything else. But that really gives it the iconic look. That it's really starting to look like a pod now. So I guess next thing is to neaten up some of the wiring inside. Okay, I just took a couple minutes to cut out some vinyl masks of the spotlight covers, put them down on some clear styrene, trimmed them out, and stuffed them in the holes, and also covered over the howl hole, the eyeball there, so that I can start to put some paint on this, or at least protect the plastic from being scratched or getting overspray. So I'm letting the epoxy sculpt dry on this, or cure or settle, or whatever you want to call it. So I think what I want to do is get some red on Dave. You got red on you, so I'm going to put some red on him and start roughing in his color. Yes, you may think I stabbed Dave in the back. My backstabbing. I'm like how what I'm doing is I'm making a Dave sickle. I'm making a grip to handle him by. Now, since this back is going to get covered up by this big honking piece of equipment here, it doesn't really matter what the back looks like. So I've just stuck a stick on it, and that way I can handle him better whilst I am painting, because this red paint gets everywhere and I only want to get it where it's supposed to get, and plus this gives me something to hold on to and some place to sit him while he's drying. Okay, I did a little spraying. Let us spray, dear gentlemen, just to clean things up a bit. The black was getting awfully scuffed up, and sometimes you can forget where your lines are if you are noticing the paint scratches and not the actual stuff. I'm going to put a satin coat on all of this to protect it. This is getting to a really good place, and I put another coat on the console, and I'm going to spray a satin on that so that I can get ready to start wiring up the displays. And I put a coat of red, just a light spray, basically there's Dave. After I sprayed Dave, I had red left in the brush, and I just emptied it out on this wall just so I can get an idea of what the paints are looking like compared next to each other. Okay, wires have been shortened and trimmed and soldered together and heat wrapped and taped down. So, yay, that's the first circuit, which is going to be all of those. You see them with covering over them now, but they will be uncovered later. And then I'm going to make another circuit that's going to do the interior and the console lighting. So that's next. And I'm back from dinner. It's Labor Day, so what better way to spend it than with family and friends, or friends of family. And that's where I was. I was over at my sister Mary's and had a big old cookout type thing. Last grill of the season. It's also her birthday weekend, so celebrated her birthday. She's 100 years old. So take this opportunity to say hello to the rest of my family who may be watching me. But let's get back. We got a few more hours this evening to work on the pod and get it a little bit further down the road. So let's pick it up where we left it off. Come with me, will you? So here's where we are on the displays for the instrument panels. And remember what I was saying about what I didn't like about the stock backlit films was how they looked when everything was off, which is, let's be honest, most of the time you have a model, the lights are going to be off. And I just didn't like that milky look to them. Plus, I realized, that some of them that may not even be all that accurate. So I went out to the Paragraphic site, went out to Paul's site, and because he has a really good set of what they call the Builders Group templates for a more accurate insides, which I'll probably use on the next go round of this if I ever go round on it again. And but he also makes a set of replacement decals or replacement backlit film for the stock interior, which is what this is. And they are just so much better. But rather than going for the backlit film, I took my some glossy photo paper and printed off the PDF that he provided on his site. I went ahead and printed those off, and I know that I'm going to have to really jack up the amount of light coming through there because it's on paper instead of backlit film, so it's not going to be as bright, but it looks better when the lights are off. I mean, it looks better when it's off, which is going to be 95-96% of the time. So I'm happier with the off versions, and if they don't shine up that bright when I put a light behind them, well, worse things are happening on a daily basis. So what I've done is printed these out, and I'm going to be sticking them down and working on them that way, but I need to put the strip lights in behind them first. So let's get back to that. And we're also going to get back to painting Dave now that he's had a chance to dry. I think what I want to do first is go out and put a coat of satin finish on him so that when I spray the smoke over that, it will seep into the ridges between the details, and I can wipe it down off of the top. So let me run out and put a coat of satin on that, and I'll be right back. Okay, working on the side panels. This is, yes, it's going to make hot spots, but we're in such small, tight quarters that I can't stagger the lights the way I would like to. But that's 2 light strips, and I am going to pop it in there and see how she goes. Okay, here is the panel in place, and yes, it's a lot sourcey, and yes, the bulbs are very noticeable. I may try to put some sort of diffuser behind that, but that's the goal, and I think it's a success. Well, it has been a good and productive weekend. 3 days working on just the one project. A little bit unusual. I don't have 9 things juggling at the same time. I know I might get a little bit of hairy sticking up. Stop. Sorry. But got a good amount of progress done on this pod. I'm really enjoying where it's going. Let me show you where we're at, and we'll wrap this thing up. But it'll only be 6 days until the next report because I've got a short week. This is Monday. It's off. I have 4 working days, and I can get right back at it. So good times ahead. Let me show you where we're at on the pod. Okay, this is the back half. I've got a first sloppy coat of red on the roof there, and I've got to mask off and sharpen up that line where the black walls at the back join the red ceiling. And I've got those red lights at the bottom kind of indicated they won't be actual lights. I've got the light box in there for the one panel. I've got to put some decals and paint. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what all the stuff I need to do. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff I need to do. Let me show you what I have done. The big accomplishment for this weekend was getting this door done in such a way that I didn't have to use the big clunky hinge that the kit comes with. So that's a oneer. Here's Dave. This is the red paint with 1 coat of the Comart smoke down in the creases, letting that dry, and then I'll go over it with a highlight coat of red. The front has got a lot done. That's the inside front wall. All the lights are in. You saw those. The lights are nice and neatly wired up there. You saw that. The arms are done. Those are not done, but they're painted. They're out in the other room. I've been putting white coats of paint on them this afternoon. The big news here, and I'll turn these lights off so you can see. The big news here is the panels are coming along quite nice. And I think I was justified in my opinion of printing these out on photo paper rather than using the backlit film that comes with them because of the how much better it looks when they're off. And like I said, 95% of the time the lights are going to be off in the model, and you want it to look nice that way. So let's see if I can get these in place. And these, since they cover up the whole flats, I can just glue those down and everybody will be happy, and I won't have to worry about trying to cover them up with a clear styrene or anything like that, and I won't have to worry about the backlit film scratching, which is what it was doing. But yes, that's sliding because gravity is not my friend. But that, and the handles on it, and paint the floor, and it's a good piece down the road. So yay, it has been a very productive weekend. 3-day Labor Day build so far on this pod. And that's going to wrap us up. Labor Day weekend, another one in the books. Starting on the really nutty part of my daily work job. So I'm going to need my modeling more than ever because I use that as the release from all of the stress of the day, and you work with people and things that are not under your control. And when you have the opportunity to work on a model, then you have something you can exert some control over, and you feel better about life. That's the reason I model, I have to say. A, for the artistic expression of it. B, to end up with a neat thing. But C, to have some measure of control over how you're spending your own time. So, until next week, I hope you had a good holiday weekend, and I hope you enjoyed your family and your friends. And please come in next week when we will be continuing this one-man pod, maybe to completion next weekend. Who knows? See you then.